Hello everyone. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully you can all hear me loud and clearly. Quick good afternoon or morning, depending on where you are in the world. I know we've had a great mix of people registering for today's event. We've got people from France, Portugal, Italy, UK, where we're based, as well as the US. Really exciting to see such a global audience coming together for today's presentation. Just a quick introduction, I'm Dan, I'm going to be your host for today, and I'm really excited to welcome you along to our first in the Essential Laravel Developer Skills for Successful End-to-End Project Delivery series. Today's webinar is all around why code is not enough and why developers must wear multiple hats. It's going to be presented by a fantastic Chief Delivery Officer, Sylvain Reiter, and this is going to be a great introduction to the series of webinars that we're going to be running as a whole. You know, a lot of what we'll talk about today is what we're going to go into more depth about in the later episodes, but also today you'll learn about Sylvain's own journey from that web developer through to being a CTO and now as a Chief Delivery Officer. But before I pass on to him, I've just got a few introductory slides to do, some house rule slides, and this will also just give a chance for kind of more people to join before we get into Sylvain's main part of the presentation. So if this is your first CyberDuck webinar, it's great to have you joining us today. Just a bit of background to who we are. So actually, we are Laravel's first official UK accredited partner since 2012. And I guess our goal as a digital agency is really to take a user-centered approach to digital. And the way we achieve this is by working very closely with our clients to redesign and rebuild web platforms with this user-centered, human-centered approach so that the content becomes more accessible and user-friendly to a more varied user base, but also that digital products work better for businesses and teams within those businesses so that, well, they can achieve the goals that they need to achieve. And then this is then served by better open source technology, such as Laravel. And you can see a few of the kind of clients that we've worked with, from NHS and Bosch, government organizations, Commonwealth, Cadbury's, really fantastic clients with, you know, great stories and great projects behind them. And then if we look at today's series, and I guess what we're looking to achieve with this whole webinar series that we've decided to kickstart, well, over the last sort of decade plus, as a Laravel agency and as a digital agency, and even before that, our ducks, our people, have been building up lots of experience and knowledge and expertise. And we kind of now just in a position where we want to share this with the wider world, and particularly the kind of skills and processes that we've refined. I'm sure Sylvain will touch on this later as well, over the hundreds of projects that we've now worked on. So we want to share this with all the developers and all the Laravel users out there. So how will this look? Well, in each of these webinars, one of our ducks will be hosting a talk on a kind of a different stage of the project cycle or kind of a different topic that we think developers should know more about. So this is going to go from pitching, which is what our next webinar is going to be all about, through to kind of wider project management, agile, UX, accessibility, the internal ways that teams work together, and kind of more. You'll see on the moment on our website that we've only got 3 webinars scheduled. We're just finalizing the dates on the other one. So hopefully we'll be able to give you that information early next month as well. But if for any reason you're not able to make a session, don't worry. Each of these sessions are going to be recorded, and we share them with everyone who's registered. And as well as that, for these webinars, you might also get an additional piece of content, like a relevant article, whether it's about accessibility. We'll kind of maybe share with you on the previous webinars, but not trying to overload you with too much content. Always keep it relevant to the topics in hand. For today's session, we've got around 40 minutes scheduled, with maybe about 10 minutes at the end for any questions. Sylvain and I can hang around though for a little bit longer. We have lots of questions to answer. As I've already said, we will be recording today's webinar and we'll be emailing that for you early next week. If you want to submit any questions, I would suggest using the Q&A button. So if you look at the bottom of your Zoom screen, you should see a little Q&A button. You click that, Q&A window pops up, and you can ask any questions you want. And then, as I said, we'll get back to that towards the end of the presentation. But you can also reach us out on social media. So at the end of the presentation, we'll have our social media handles. You can also, if there's something in the webinar you think is really interesting, please feel free to tweet that. And if you use the hashtag LaraDuck, we'll give it a like and probably a retweet as well. And just the last piece from me is around captions. So if you require them, automated captions are available. These are not already turned on for you. You can switch them on via the transcript button located at the bottom of your screen. And look, as we all know, as great as automated captions are, they are not perfect. So we do make sure that all of our on-demand versions of the webinars have manually edited captions as well to make sure that's accurate. And so that's everything from me at the moment. So I'm going to give a big hello to Sylvain, and please take it away with your presentation.
Cool, thanks, Dan. And yeah, let's go, dive straight in. So I think developers and software engineers are a special breed. The fact that we have fingers that can write code is like magic for most of the population, right? When we can scan code on a dark screen, or we can follow the logs that are scrolling through a terminal at fast speed, or when reviewing the source of an HTML page and making deduction around the framework being used, the JS library, that's feel like sorcery for most of the world. When you share that with non-technical developers or non-technical colleagues, they feel like, wow, how do you do that? And as an ex-developer myself, I can share the feeling. It feels like a superpower, yeah? Like you can make a good career out of writing code and building softwares and algorithm. And yeah, it feels like magic. And especially when you grow into more senior developer position and you become responsible for mission critical applications, and you become this vast source of knowledge that is so valuable to most businesses. And you all know probably in your day-to-day job, if your development team were to disappear, so most of those businesses couldn't run. Like it's very difficult to transfer that knowledge and the experience to run, because digital runs so many things today that are mission critical. However, there is also a threshold of how big you can make it, or you can grow in your career if you just want to write code. There's a cap of how far you can climb in the org chart if you want to stick to this, right? And also, writing code is an amazing skill, but if you have a great idea and want to launch next unicorn, like this amazing product ideas that you have, you're going to need to do more than writing the code. Like, yeah, you can launch the product, but it's not going to grow by itself, and you need more skills. And to unlock that next stage, you need to diversify into more than writing code. And you can use, a good thing is that you can use the skills and the mindset that the software engineering degree or the experience, the years of experience that you have, the skills that you gain, you can package that to be even more valuable to the team and have a bigger impact on the product you're building, on your colleague in your technical team, but also the other team in your organizations, bigger impact on your clients, and even society in general. When you build life-changing product or a new digital solution that innovates and do things better or make the web more accessible, have an impact on society. And this is something that I discovered throughout my career at CyberDuck. This diagram shows the growth of our team and how my role evolved over the last 15 years. I joined in 2006 as a full stack web developer. There was only like 3 of us. Like, I was developing the website. We had a designer, and then our CEO doing kind of the new business and the invoicing. And at that stage, yeah, it was very simple. And as we grew, the team grew, became the development manager, technical director, CTO, and now Chief Delivery Officer with a team of close to 100 people in our agency. Obviously, this experience is very much agency, like coming from a digital agency background, quite agency focused with lots of clients. But I do think it applies to most tech careers overall, and whether in-house, into a corporate, or within a product-based businesses. As the team grow, and yeah, there'll probably be more intermediate level of different seniority of development, more granular roles in larger organization, which we're starting to have at CyberDuck as well. But overall, in the big picture, this is how it's evolved. And as Dan said, we've done probably, I don't know, close to 100 Laravel projects now over those last 15 years, and we're talking about how to handle and scale your Laravel project. And this growth trajectory of our agency is also represented in the growth of our development projects. As our agency grew, we took on more and more complex projects. And here I've highlighted a few and how kind of it scaled up, or how we had to scale up our practice to deal with more complex requirements. It was in 2006 at the beginning of CyberDuck. Laravel didn't even exist. So the time we're using a bit of WordPress, Drupal, and I think CodingIgniter is the first PHP framework that we built some key projects for clients. But 2012 is really the first milestone, diving straight into Laravel 3.1, first version, where we built a customer portal for Cabot Financial and had to integrate a registration, a payment gateway, and some basic API calls to retrieve documents from a third-party platform. And then over the years, the project became more complex. So 2014, cancer research, where we had to build quite a complete and comprehensive marketplace with different user types, where scientists could upload their own product and life science company could trade them and leave product reviews. There was some sort of back office system with a bit of stock management, importing product data and data feeds from third-party providers. That became more complex. We had to evolve our process and capabilities to build that project. That we delivered the MVP in 4 months, and we're still working with that client today. Actually, similar to Cabot, there's still a client today. So 10 plus years later, we're still working on that, and obviously the ecosystem, the Laravel ecosystem, has grown over the years. And 2017, took on low business research to cover an existing Laravel application, and got our experience to the world of headless architecture, because they had a Drupal publishing system in the backend. The entire front end for a global kind of publishing platform was done in Laravel using the Drupal API. So again, more complex requirement, distributed architecture, multilingual, multi-site, yeah, more complex hosting infrastructure as well, because it was really a global platform. And then more recently, about 18 months ago, I started working with Worcester-Bosch in the UK to cover the entire digital ecosystem, from an incumbent agency that's dealing with everything from their marketing website with a content management system built on Laravel, the installer area and guarantee registration, the e-commerce staff portal, and a lot of back office tools like reporting engine and other BI tools. So as you can see, complexity evolved, and obviously that's where we had to adapt and scale. And if you look at a typical digital project, those are the high-level stages, right? It sounds very waterfall, and obviously we are bundling in agile methodologies within that, but the high level is start with the initial client's requirements, going through some sort of discovery phase, not just UX and technology, but then actually building the product in sprints and using agile methodologies, all the way to the launch and then the ongoing support. And by default, some developers would get involved when we have to start writing code, right? That's where I started. Here's the brief, please go start building it. But if we go back to this notion of developers having to wear multiple hats when scaling, you can see how this evolution and how my role has changed as the team grew and the project became more complex. So as a development manager, I had to obviously still write the code and build the platforms for our clients, but also had to ensure and we had good quality standards around the testing, the quality assurance process, all the way to the launch of the project. And then as grew to technical director, managing a larger team, started having to take care of ongoing support after launching those projects for clients and supporting them with service level agreement and having to deal with emergency bugs and how we would support and continually increase the value that we're delivering to our clients longer term over the years. As a CTO, I was much less hands-on, obviously, as not doing any coding anymore. They like to read once in a while the commit, but I'm not writing any code. But it's more about how then the technical team started interacting with other teams, having closer collaboration with the UX and UI, and we'll go into more details about why developers and software engineers need to get involved at that stage. But it was more about the collaboration and the bigger picture across the delivery team. And finally, as Chief Delivery Officer, getting involved through the entire process, really the whole life cycle of the project. And obviously, I am not responsible for the sales and new business. I have an amazing team owning those KPI and leading the process and the growth of the agency. But me and some of the technically minded people are getting involved at these early stages. And again, we'll explore the benefits of that today. So what did I learn across this journey and all that growth? And this is the reason why you're all here today, to hear about the key skills that I think software engineers have the opportunity to expand and develop to grow in their career and help deliver more complex projects at scale. And the three things we're going to cover today is the scoping, the selling, and the influencing. And to be fair, there's not much Laravel specific elements in this plan, because I really think those skills and that can really apply to other technology stacks and framework. But obviously some of the examples reference come from our Laravel experience. So first one, and scoping. So as we've seen, it's important for developers to get involved in earlier stages of the project. And I think this is really one of the secrets of when you scale projects, things get more complex and you need to remain efficient. And that's why I think you need tech leaders to do more than just writing code. It's important, obviously, to scope, to understand the requirements during the early stages of the project. So when UX designers are doing their research and starting designing the workflows, the user journey, and they need to consider those tech elements. And of course, it's a multidisciplinary team that needs to be involved, and you can train business analysts and even have some of our UX designers are technically minded and they understand the basics of API and how you can import data from external feeds, but you cannot replace a practitioner and the experience that they bring. And we've seen that at CyberDuck. And again, those I'll present now some of the reason and the benefits of why we should have technically minded person and development practitioners involved before the project starts. The first point is that I think it needs to have someone who has gone through the pain, first of all. You probably have experience in your job having to write code or developing a feature or building a module without the full specification. You might have been given a brief without the full context, and it's very frustrating, right? So we need someone who can foresee the challenge that will happen during implementation and make sure that this initial strategy from the UX researchers, the UI designers, make sure those teams are not building some crazy business logic that will take you weeks to build, or crazy interfaces that will be a pain to implement, or it will require, it's almost impossible to do even with the best CSS and JavaScript libraries. So by having, again, developers involved at that stage, you have gone through the pain and you know what needs to change, know what they need to consider when designing the solutions and what input you need and how to brief them. So it will help us upskill those colleagues in other divisions in your organization. It will also benefit every developer that is in your team and that will come after you. So they don't have to go through it. They don't have to go through the same pain. And the whole process will be much more efficient. And the same apply when talking to clients. It's again this mindset and the experience that you have gained as a developer writing code. But now it's about communicating the business logic outside of code in plain English that non-technical users can understand. And that's also a very rare skill, but that everyone should be training on or trying to develop, because it will unlock a tremendous amount of value. And that will help the entire team by having the developers involved in those early meetings to ask the right questions up front, or even challenge the brief sometimes. See a lot of brief from clients who jump straight into a solution without thinking of some of the dependencies or complex tasks like, yes, technology can solve, but how to approach that. So those early stages and those meetings will help the whole team to have a better understanding of the requirements. And if you have better understanding of the initial requirements, it will lead to better input to better scope the projects. And again, that's where developers can help to scope those projects early on. And this is where your past experience of building similar modules for other clients or in other projects can help to better estimate the effort. For example, if the client tells you, okay, I need this plan to build this application, I need it live in 4 months' time, you can then work backwards and understand the size of the team that will be required or the number of sprints that will be required, breaking down, having the overall picture of the application and breaking down the module at different stages. So with better scoping of the specification, again, everyone will have a better experience, from your sales team, commercial team. If the estimates are more accurate, that will lead to better pricing. If your colleagues in the development team, or even the UX and UI researchers, they will have better user stories, and they will be more enriched with all these technical details or dependencies. And then the client will hopefully have better outcome as well, because if they have a better understanding of what they're getting and a more accurate timeline, then it should lead to a better project outcome. The second skill is about selling. So taking it one step further, higher up the chain of the project lifecycle, I really think that a lot of developers or software engineers have the right skills to help that. And obviously, it will come down to personalities, and I'm not expecting every developer to turn into a salesperson or an amazing storytellers, but I do think they have the skills and the experience to help. First of all, as I said, just hearing about the clients during the initial stages of an RFP process will help you and the team understand the underlying value, like what are the business reasons for this new project? What are the KPIs that are going to be used to measure the success? All of this information, I think, is vital to make sure that the technology decisions that are being made and how the information is communicated to the development team is well organized and will help to deliver on those business expectations by, again, having the better context about what and why you're building it. And software engineers can also be involved in negotiation. Again, I'm not expecting you to be responsible for the commercial negotiation or setting the pricing strategy on your project, but when you work on those RFP or on your business stages, and if there is a discrepancy, for example, between the client's scope and their expectation and the budget that they have available, that's where we've seen that bringing a developer input at that stage can help address the scope by understanding what the expectation of the business or the clients are, or the business stakeholders in your team, understanding what they really need as an MVP and the complexity of each of the features or each of the module. The developer, again, from their experience, can advise on potentially deprioritizing a feature that could maybe come post-launch without affecting the initial service that is being delivered or the MVP feature. And that could help then align the price with the timeline to what the business requirements, and hopefully help close the deal. And not just on the commercial negotiation, but to help closing deal, I think, is when you build trust with clients. This is very useful because you can't just leave a salesperson and trust them to obviously they are there to build the sales team will say yes to any of the client's requirement just to please them and close the deal, but never know that they don't really worry about whether you'll be able to actually deliver it. And that applies to any development project or product-based businesses. We probably all had that experience. So again, having a developer involved at that stage will help build the trust with the clients. They know that you understand what needs to be built, and you're making that commitment at those early stages. But I don't want to spend too long on this section. Again, it is an introduction webinar to the whole series, but my colleague Tom will go into much more details about this in our next series of essential skills. So don't forget to subscribe to the next event. If you everyone here will be invited, but if you've been shared the link, I think then you can put the link in the chat for others to register and make sure they don't miss the next event, which will focus on these commercial elements. And then the third skill that every software engineer should build up and develop is the skill of influencing others. Obviously, your deep knowledge of the code and the skills can help you look at the bigger picture, and you can start getting involved in influencing the technological and technical solution. Because as you build larger projects, you'll have to start making decisions on the structure of the application, or how you're going to build the different modules, or refactor those different modules over time. On the longer term, as the application evolves, there are going to be some refactoring strategies you need to consider, or the automated testing strategy, or how everything needs to scale, working with your DevOps and the cloud infrastructure team on making sure the application is scalable. And all of those are critical decisions at early stages of the project, then can make or break it. So again, having developers involved, working with those other specialist team will help make better decision and will grow your confidence and your experience to start influencing those decisions early on. And then the next step I can relate to is becoming more technology agnostic as well. Mostly here, we're talking about scaling Laravel project, and probably have a lot of Laravel gurus listening here. However, to manage project at scale will usually means that it will be part of a larger ecosystem that will require integration with third parties. And again, those development skills that could be specific to Laravel will need to evolve outside of this Laravel ecosystem and be more agnostic, because not only about the low-level data or the JSON API, this type of thing, but you need to start thinking about the overall process, the user experience, the workflows, and you need to understand make sure all of that, you need to understand all of that to make sure the technical integration are done right. And there's also an element of learning about different sectors and the specific that industry can bring or require. So when working in financial sector, had to build payment gateway and understand regulation, or supply chain, you need to understand ERPs and CRM and international custom forms and the rules around that. Or for the more marketing focused project and application, you think about lead gen and marketing automation, and all of that will have new technical challenges that might not be Laravel specific, but that you need to bring everything together so it works seamlessly. And that's why it's important to open your mind to those other technology and frameworks. As I mentioned before, Laravel project at scale will be part of a larger ecosystem. And if we're talking about scale, it's probably going to come from larger clients with huge budget, like from global companies, that like what we experience. And those companies and those clients or projects will come with their own procurement team that will have to do due diligence, and compliance team and information security teams that will want to run audit against the application that you build to make sure it's secure and compliance with data privacy, and do pen test and look at the cloud security and all of that. And again, this is what my team and I did at CyberDuck. Over the years, decided to standardize those processes and went for ISO accreditation. So we've achieved 4 ISO accreditation now, and it's really changed our approach to projects, taking more like, it's all about continual improvement, obviously knowing that no one is ever going to be perfect and we can always do better. So the continual improvement, that the process that we've embedded into the team culture, but also taking a risk-based approach to most of the decisions we're taking, and thinking in system, thinking in dependencies, thinking about audit logs and traceability. And all of that are the skills that software engineers already have. At writing code, you need to think about all of that. And this is where, again, you can upskill others or bring your expertise to others and start supporting the wider company around setting those compliance standards. And as our Laravel projects become more complex, so will your team. The team will grow. You can't do everything alone. Yes, might be a superstar, but if the project becomes too big, you're going to need help and support from other developers. And here, new problem will arise as the team grows. And we've experienced this again at CyberDuck. When I was the only developer, 2006, I didn't need Git, and I was just deploying via FTP, and everything was simple. But obviously, as we had more clients, started introducing those better principles for team collaboration. But when we had a small number of clients, we could all multitask. There's like 3 or 4 different projects. We could all jump in. We knew everything that was going on. It was still manageable. But when we reached 20, 30, now 50 developers of a team of 100 total, most of those processes were not suitable anymore. So we had to evolve. We had to develop standard ways of working, better documentation. So then when developers got onboarding into a new project, it was more efficient. They could see the background, understand the context, and follow kind of standard patterns across the different projects. Similarly, for the tech lead, when they're reviewing the code, there is standard coding patterns and standard ways of giving feedback. So then when they jump from project to project, there is some consistency. When the same thing applies to the quality assurance team testing the release, or the DevOps team making those automated deployment, we had to bring consistency into the release notes and the ticket descriptions. And that's how we had to evolve and come up with those processes. So this diagram here is our end-to-end process and delivery model, the CyberDoc literacy model, where we document everything and obviously constantly involving it. And then not just me who did it. It's impossible to do on your own. And there's many others that get involved. And again, talking about becoming technology agnostic, a good example in our team, my colleague Thiago really embraced this, and coming obviously from a deep Laravel, kind of the best Laravel developer I know, but it can help across other divisions as well. And it's been, last few years, been working with the Drupal team. He never wrote a single line of Drupal code, but it can help around setting the standards for tickets description or the branching strategy and workflows and all of that. And all the way even to other tech leads working with our UX and UI team to upskill themselves and delivering better kind of components to build into our CMS and supporting that transition between project discovery, design, and build. And the next stage, and to even do more with all the skills and experience that you have as a developer, is to turn into a creator. And the trigger for me was realizing that I started repeating a lot of the things to every time a new developer was joining, or every time I was talking to a client, I had to repeat some of the things that I had learned over the years. And I decided to start creating, and the ratio was that I had to create more than I consume, start kind of outsourcing my knowledge and sharing the experience. And that was really, really rewarding. And I don't see myself as a thought leader. There's nothing groundbreaking. I'm not inventing anything new. It's not rocket science. I'm mainly sharing what we're doing on the day-to-day stuff and how I understand, or my vision, the stuff that I read online or that are in the news. And it's nothing really as an expert. It's just about sharing what we learn along the way. So others that are a few steps behind you, a bit more junior than you, can learn from it and grow up and follow in your footsteps, or find their own path in their own direction. And yes, it will require getting out of your comfort zone. And I'm not expecting every developer to start talking in front of hundreds of people at global conferences. It might not be the public speaking type, but you have the knowledge. You probably have something to say, and you can work with your team. Like at CyberDoc, our marketing colleagues will interview the developers and extract their thought process and the information, and turn that into a blog article, or then share that with the team to be presented by others. But ultimately, you cannot do it alone. Building a team, building teams is really the ultimate skills and rewards. And I guess, yeah, the ultimate reward and the most rewarding thing that I can do in my job. And it's much more fun, obviously, delivering project when you do it with your colleagues and your friend, and you go through the stress of the project and there's up and downs during the life cycle. But when you look back at what you've built together, it's always very impressive. At this stage, obviously, you can forget all about your technical skills. It's not even beyond code anymore. It's beyond you as a person, because you're not giving instruction to a computer who can just execute your code. Here you're dealing with real people. And obviously, it's not always rosy. It comes with new challenges, and you have to deal with hiring and delegation and quality control and all the other HR related matter. But it's probably a chat for another day. We won't have enough time to cover all of that today. That's it for me. That's the main three skills I wanted to share. And as Dan explained, the rest of the series will go into more detail about those various things. And there'll be session around the commercial and pitching, the next one, and agile product management, and then some more technical topics around refactoring and software architecture. But let me know in the chats and in the Q&A what part attracted you the most, or what you're currently facing in your organization. But more importantly, it's where to open the discussion, I guess. Where are you going to apply this, and what are you going to start putting into practice tomorrow morning when you go back to your desk? Thank you for your time, and over to you, Dan.
Brilliant, Sylvain, great as always. Just quickly before we jump into the Q&A part, quick reminder, so our next session is going to be with Tom, our new business director, on 24th of March. This is all around how developers can help deliver winning pitches and aid new businesses. It's a really, really great talk, and it's going to really build on some of the points that Sylvain mentioned today. So as I said, if you already have registered for the series, don't worry, you'll receive information on that and how to join after this webinar and getting closer to the date. But if you haven't registered, if you were kind of given the Zoom link by a colleague or friend, I've dropped into the chat just the link to our landing page, so you can subscribe there, and that brings you into our sort of email thread for the series. In the meantime, we have just recently launched a Laravel white paper. It's actually got a foreword by Taylor Otwell, which is fantastic and really exciting. This is a really great side piece to the whole series as a whole. So again, we actually are going to email you this after today's session. But if you're really eager and want to take a look now, we've got a QR code just up on there, which you can scan, and that will pop you up to the landing page for that. And I think now is then a great time to jump to our Q&A. Actually, one of the things I want to kind of ask our audience is, either to have a think or to drop in our chat and our Q&A section is, what are maybe the things that Sylvain's been talking about that hasn't maybe come across in your own development training? And also what, you would find of interest from the series. We'd love to tailor this series around you as the audience. And then the question for Sylvain, which I'm going to ask, is obviously you've kind of gone through that process of, shifting from a developer to being, a team leader and, an agency leader now. And, one of the things I would be interested in is, what are the common, for lack of a better word, mistakes you see from junior devs as they try to progress their careers, or maybe what the challenges that they face when they're trying to leap up to more senior positions?
Yeah, good question. And it's hard to put a generic rule, but and that's something we've even experienced at CyberDuck, actually, where people have built their own career path based on their interests. So what I've shared today is my journey, where I was kind of started as a developer, but got involved because I was working. I guess CyberDuck was a startup in the early days with a handful of us, but I was interested in getting involved with other things, so talking to clients and helping with new business and the whole commercial aspect of it and business logic. So that's kind of quite wide topics that and I build a role around that. But some of our developers, like some example, Benjamin went into project management and starting as helping kind of managing a small team, and then ended up moving away from development and building our project management office and now our product division. So again, using his technical skills, but his interest was more about products and the overall process of delivering projects. So he built a career on that. And everyone will have different career aspiration, and there is a path for everyone. That's the good thing. Whether you can go into product, you can go into project management, you can turn into a commercial element of it. So it's not that there's no really common mistakes. It's more about staying open-minded, following your interests. And I guess, the one tip I would say for more junior people is to get involved into as many things as possible. Like, say yes to everything that comes in. If the new business team tells you, hey, could you help me clarify something, like help others basically. So new business might say, hey, I have this technical brief from the client, who can help me review it because I'm not a developer, I don't know what they mean. So go help them. Or when your marketing team saying, hey, we need some ideas for a blog article, just share your ideas, your two pennies, and get involved in that. And as I said, you might not be a copywriter. We're not expecting you to do everything, but just get involved with other teams. Get exposed to as many things as possible. Ask the account manager to attend clients' meetings sometimes. So if you're just an attendee and listening in, but over time you could start contributing and bring that technical input to challenging a brief or raising a question when a client says something and the salesperson or the account manager say, maybe I'll have to speak to a developer and get back to you. Then if you're there, you can provide input straight away and be beneficial to your team and your clients. So that's the thing I would say, like, get involved in as many things as possible.
That's great. And maybe as a side kind of question to this as well, is it possible in today's world for developers ever to just stick with code?
Yeah, for sure. And as I said, it's not for everyone, and that's fine. And not everyone can grow or should grow anyway. And we have those few roles like that at CyberDuck, where going through the seniority, as I said, all the layers, junior, mid, senior, And we've seen that in other teams as well, same on UX, where then you become the principal, where you're still sticking to code, and they still get involved in making those decisions. They might not be writing the code all the time, but they would be still making recommendation on how we should structure things and how we should structure the application, and just obviously staying within the technical team. The technical team, they don't have to be involved. They don't have to be client facing. They don't have to help with new business. They stay within the technology department, but still have that influence of making architecture decision, even if it's just at the software level. So yeah, it's definitely a good career opportunities for that. And they're usually as I said, those people holding the knowledge that becoming mission critical to support those applications. They're very valuable role in any business. Yeah,
it's great. Maybe looking at the way in which teams can work together, and I think this is a really great question, is around, lots of teams now are remote first, and how can, I guess, both developers work together as a remote first team, but also how can developers work with other teams when they are remote first?
Yeah, that's the joy of Zoom and Teams and trying to collaborate, and the challenges as well, because yeah, it's not the same than being in a room or being able to walk to someone's desk, and everything has to be scheduled and having more meetings, and you lose a bit of that direct interaction or those kind of quick chat or even kind of water cooler moments where you could have better interaction with other teams. And but yeah, we've made it work. A lot of our developers were even remote before the pandemic, and we build those in the workflow. So and that's why we had to get involved in some of those processes that I described, of the developers and the technical leads being involved all the way to the early stages of a project, from the new business. So then they could then translate all the information down to when the development was actively starting, to have the context, and then within the development team themselves, again, using a lot of automation, using workflows, all of that helps stay in sync, and then having regular meeting in stand-up and retrospectives, sharing that. It's become a communication issue. It's not really any technical challenges. It's how do we keep the project knowledge and the communication flowing, and that's the challenge for any remote team.
We have a very interesting question here, which is, do you spend much time coding now? And if not, do you miss coding?
So no, I'm not doing any coding. I guess the last coding I did was editing of a bit of HTML in my Ghost blog, like tweaking the theme in the blog. So very back to basically back to what I was doing in 2005 and HTML and CSS. But no, I couldn't write code anymore. There's like so many. Our team is so much more talented. Do I miss it? Not really. I think because we're in kind of the agency environment, I still exposed to so many different things. Like every week we have clients coming in from new sectors. So I have to learn about, as I said, fintech and supply chain and international things. So I still get involved in most of the brief, understanding the requirements, and then kind of overseeing the entire delivery. But now I'm busy enough. I don't have the time to miss coding. But it's again, that's what we're talking about today, is having that mindset of having done it, having gone through it. Now it's better when I talk to clients or make recommendation. I use those skills. I can feel that I use the skills that I gained during those early years to be better at my job today, even though the job doesn't involve coding.
Touching back upon your kind of the part about technology agnostic, have you got any kind of tips for upskilling in different areas? And also, how easy is it to upskill and become more technology agnostic while working on live projects?
Yeah, I think it's about the confidence to say yes. Not saying say yes to everything, but just exploring the opportunities. So when there are new opportunities or clients asking us, hey, I need to integrate this application with another CRM, like, I don't know, probably Salesforce is a good example. When a client came with a brief, wanted to build a portal in Laravel. So I say, yeah, that's fine. That's exactly what we do, bread and butter for us. And I said, yeah, and actually I need to retrieve this data feed from our Salesforce instance. And obviously I'd never done Salesforce. That was like 2014, 15, I think. I'd never done Salesforce. I knew about Salesforce, but never done it. But I said yes to the client. I knew as a concept that Salesforce, I knew there's an API somehow. And I said, yes, it's possible. We just need access to your API. And then obviously in the background, we went to a brainstorm with our tech team. We looked at the API documentation and we learned from it. And during that project, we were learning during the project, learning as we go. So I'm not saying you should make things up and say yes to everything. Obviously, you need to understand the context and make sure there is a technical solution, but you don't need to be an expert to start selling that to clients. And you will have to learn on the job. And that happens to a lot of other platforms, like saying about the marketing automation, the MarTech, so Pardot and Marketo. And when the client come to us, we say, yeah, I don't know Marketo, but we've done Pardot with another client, it's probably similar. And then you discover the logic, you read online. Most of those platforms have some sort of tutorials, and then that's where you need to spend the extra time doing some CPD, learning about it, building a proof of concept. And then you can deliver it to clients, and that becomes a new service and that you can sell to others. So that's how we've been learning over the years. Yeah.
I've got another question here, which is, can all this type of learning be on the job, or is there value in formal CPD? Yeah,
I think it's both. When it's project specific, when there is a clear brief, like, okay, I need this portal to integrate with the Salesforce API, that's something that you can scope. So that should be part of the project. You consider it in your estimates early on, and that can be billed to the client, even though you will have to do a bit of exploration for their specific requirements and understanding the logic, understanding the field and all of that. So you bundle that in your estimates, and then you assume that in your timeline, and that's delivered. But there is definitely a CPD time that is required, I would say, for the more innovative stuff. So at the moment, like my personal CPD, it's all about AI. We don't have at CyberDuck, no clients say, hey, I need to integrate ChatGPT into my CMS. Like, that's not a brief, and there's no clients willing to pay us for that. So I'm learning about it in my own time, out of hours, reading about it, doing some training, and potentially in the future start building some proof of concept with our team. And obviously that would be innovation and R&D time that you can start, either working within your company or on your own time. And so there's a path for both.
I've got a fantastic question here, which is all around, how do you deal with the unknowns? So e.g., when you don't have all the knowledge up front and go over your estimates because of unforeseen technical complexities?
Yeah, great question. And that, we've gone through that. And the bigger the projects, the more of those unknowns you have. So what we're doing now is breaking down the project into smaller chunks. And again, I guess that's the principle of Agile and doing things in small iteration. So either you spend more time up front doing discovery and proof of concepts, where there's a bit more research and documentation around the overall structure, or you break down this project into smaller chunks and you take, I guess, an iterative approach where you build what you know, and then you refocus or revisit with the client and adjust the backlog accordingly based on what you've learned in the last sprints. So it's a mix of Agile and then breaking down the project into multiple phases. Yeah.
That's brilliant. I think I'm just going to finish up on one last question, which is there one particular skill of all of those you've mentioned that without it, you're necessarily going to hit a ceiling in project delivery?
I would say it's being open-minded to continual improvement. I think that's been thread throughout, like how I've been thinking, and I think a lot of others in our company as well, in the team, across the teams. And that's what I was talking about, those ISO accreditation, for example, when we've embedded continual improvement into our culture, and we know there's always going to be new things, things needs to evolve, especially in technology and digital, it's moving crazy fast. So it's about following processes, but always being open to evolving them or changing them or tweaking them when something wrong happens, something bad happens. you learn from it, you move on, and you make sure it doesn't happen again. And I think that's been the secret of a lot of our successes, personal and commercial.
Yeah, thank you very much. So I think that's it for our Q&A part. So I think just to quickly wrap up, you can, if you do have a question, you can reach us out on email. So hello@cyber-duck.co.uk, or on Twitter @cyberduck_UK. We're also on LinkedIn, so company/cyber-duck. I'm going to share one more piece of content in our chat, which is a link to Sylvain's own YouTube channel, which is a fantastic resource for, you know, getting knowledge, whether it's Laravel or anything else from the tech world. You know, it's something we all use in our CyberDuck, so I really recommend that. And you can also see Sylvain's own Twitter handle as well. So again, feel free to follow and reach out to Sylvain there. And if, you know, you're a Laravel developer or just a developer looking for your next role, you know, please feel free to visit our website. We are open to positions there. So, you know, some great maybe opportunities to find the next CyberDuck Laravel developer right in this webinar. So with that, thank you everyone for joining us today. And thank you, Sylvain, for your presentation.